Jealous podcast. I am here with Anna today. Hey, Anna, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's Friday. We got breakfast this morning from Lori, which was uber kind of her. She informed us that she's never had chocolate chip pancakes.
What? Oh my gosh, those are my favorite.
She's like, do they even sell that at restaurants? I'm like,
what? Well, she did.
Exactly. My thoughts exactly.
Oh my gosh.
But you can't hate on her because she did give us bacon and
She
breakfast.
made it all.
Even the drinks. I mean,
That was really nice.
And it was funny because Al, who's on the podcast with us today, he's normally the one coming into Bing Bang bringing us food. So like when he came in this morning, he's like, whoa, and we had all this food for him. So talk to us about Al, how he got connected with us, and why you invited him on today.
Yeah, so Al got connected to us through Lori. Both of them were Urbandale Chamber members and just met over time and kind of got together, and Al needed some help with some of his marketing needs and brought him in, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, he came in and we were doing a creative strategy with him, and hearing his story, I'm like, this story has to be heard. So we invited him on today. Not only is it Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October, but it's also Pork Month.
Yes. Yep.
National Pork Month. Pork awareness. Do we need awareness for pork?
Pork, yeah.
And then also Filipino Month, because Al is Filipino, and he kind of dives into that with his childhood and how he was raised today. Guys, I'm telling you, this story,
I have shivers now just talking about it, like thinking about it.
It's so incredible, and it all goes into his business and what he's doing now to help serve others and other people, all that he's been through. And something I did want to mention before we get off talking about who we're jealous of is that he does offer free food and water to people that need it. If you're hungry, if you're thirsty, go into Big Al's and go have some amazing barbecue. Yeah, because he's been through it, and he goes into that today, and he just wants to help others. So Anna, without further ado, tell us who you're jealous of today.
Okay, so my older sister is actually getting married next weekend. So this week I'm kind of panicking because I am one of me and my younger sister are the maid of honor. So I have to write a speech.
Yeah.
So I am very jealous of the people who get to go to a wedding and don't have to speak and don't have to talk in front of everyone.
What has the speech process been like? Because I'm a maid of honor too, so I'm gonna have to write this. I feel a lot of pressure.
Yeah, we're a little nervous. So it's me, my older sister's getting married, and then I'm the middle sister, I guess, and I have a little sister. So my younger sister and I are doing our speeches together just to make it easier, and neither of us have been a maid of honor before. So that helps a little bit. We kind of broke it down in an outline and had welcome, and then her part, my part.
Are you going more funny or more sentimental?
More funny. I mean, there are a few sentimental parts in there, but more funny and just, have a good time, lighthearted.
Good.
Yeah.
That's my struggle. I'm like, I could go
hard.
80 different directions.
I just don't want to cry. I'm sure I'm going to cry, but if I start crying, I can't stop. That's my problem. So
How
it's
much older is your sister than you?
She's 3 years older.
Okay. So
and then my younger sister and my older sister, they're 7 years apart.
Okay.
So it's kind of like I have more to talk about just because I grew up closer with my older sister. So it's just weird trying to figure all of it out and putting it together to make it sound right.
Yeah.
So it'll be good.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I love a good
nervous.
wedding. I mean, it's a good time.
I'm excited.
I'm your wedding gal. I'm a great +1. I'll get out on the dance floor. I'll get jiggy with it, and I'll just have a good old time. This week, I'm jealous of, I've been talking about it all week since I started following them last week, Crumble Cookies. They're, each time I'm, screenshotting, gotta do this, gotta do that, gotta try that. And I love it so much that I've been influenced and marketed to, I might go get a Crumble Cookie after work today.
They're delicious. And all their content they put on their social pages are awesome.
The question is, do I stop at one or do I keep going?
Good question. I was going to say, this is sad that I know this, but they have the 1 single box or 4 or more than that. So it's either 1 or 4, I feel like.
Okay, 1 or 4. I could do 4. I'm going to the Iowa game tomorrow. I could bring some cookies to tailgate with at 8 a.m. That sounds amazing.
Everyone will love you, yeah.
Okay, we've been given a tight timeline for this intro by Sam. So we are going to wrap it up and enjoy today's episode with Al, and give us a shout out on socials if you do it and you listen to it. We'd love to hear your thoughts because we have so many. Yes. And he was amazing. So enjoy today's episode, guys. Bye.
My youngest daughters, I remember they were the first dishwashers.
Oh my goodness.
They were in our driveway with the garden hose and Dawn dish soap, scrubbing the pots
Yeah.
in the driveway. Meanwhile, there's chunks of food going down the driveway. And they're embarrassed, and I'm like, I'm kind of embarrassed, but it's like, and my wife won't let me in the house because it's a mess. I'm a mess. I'm a mess.
Well, it kind of leads into our conversation today, why we brought you on. Anna and I both became jealous of you after our creative strategy session with you. We had probably a couple months ago now. And we've been doing more and more work with you. And we're like, we have to get this guy on the podcast. His story's too good not to share. So we're excited, like we were kind of talking about before, to expand on all facets of your life because you're more than Big Al's Barbecue. You have a bigger story to tell. You're doing greater things beyond serving people amazing food, which we have had the honor of tasting a few times because Al never comes here empty-handed.
Except today.
Today,
That's okay.
Today, but you guys.
well, we
provided
brought the
food.
breakfast today.
breakfast.
We got a little surprise from Lori over there with some pancakes and stuff. So I want to talk about, because you were saying your kids started working in the restaurant young. When did you start cooking and getting this love for cooking? Because you started in the kitchen young too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I remember my brother and I were really close in age, and so we were 6 and 7 or 7 and 8, and we were already in the kitchen. I mean, we were already cooking, and so
With a knife?
With a knife.
Oh my goodness.
and it was expected.
I'm
Yeah.
still
And
not
we got to
given a
load the
knife.
dishwasher and all that. I mean, that was the expectation of us. I mean, it was. But anyway, we were cooking already by the age of 7 and 8. And one of the things that we would do in the morning time on Saturdays is we would cook for our mom and dad, right? And the big Filipino thing is eggs and rice and some other piece of meat like Spam or a piece of salted fish. So that's a very Asian thing, but that's what we would make. So I remember making eggs, and they had to be, we all like sunny side up eggs. And if I ruined one, if the yolk was broken, I would make another one to make it so it's perfect because I'd wait till they'd wake up in the morning. Now, we baked that. We were making Campbell's soup. Mom was teaching us how to make all these, popovers, and she just loved. My mom loved to cook, and she always told us that was the common denominator that everybody had. It didn't matter whether you're an enemy, a friend, a neighbor. The common denominator is you have to eat.
Yep.
But the more important thing for her was she felt that everybody in this world was your friend. At least try to make them that way. And how do you do that? You make them food.
Definitely.
However, if you can't do that, they were never meant to be your friend to begin with.
Yeah.
So that was always ingrained. But the most important thing, and I'll never forget this, when we were growing up, we were taught how to iron. We're 6 and 7 years, we're taught how to iron, make our beds, clean the floors, clean the toilets.
That's part of your culture too.
It is
isn't
part
it?
of our
The
culture.
Filipino
It was part of our culture,
Yeah.
and it was a must, and you did it.
Yeah.
But at any rate, my mom had this premonition. She said, Al and Harry, the reason why I want you to learn all these things is because I'm not always going to be around. My brother and I like going, huh?
Like, where are you going?
Where are you going? I'm not always going to be around to do this for you, and you can't expect a lady to do this for you. You have to know how to do this because you may be by yourself. I want you to be able to do that. And we're 6 and 7, right?
Yeah.
We're not 16 and 17.
Right.
We're 6 and 7. Wow. So it was always ingrained in our minds that was what we should be able to be self-sufficient at that age. And so we were. So, to the point of us cooking, it started there. And thank God she did teach us because, at the end of the day of that, she left young. She passed away young. And, of course, my brother and I, we were equipped.
Yeah.
We're ready for life, right? So.
Do you want to kind of dive into that? So when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, how old were you during all that?
Sure.
To go into that story.
It was in the 1970s. There's these magazines and stuff, Cosmopolitan, Mademoiselle and stuff, and they were talking about this thing about breast cancer. And I'll never forget. My mom had the magazine opened up, and it showed this caricature of a lady hand up and touching her breast, and my brother and I going, "Oh boy, this is like
Mom, what'd you
this
bring
is
into
like
the house?"
rated X,
Yes.
right?" It's like, so we're
What is
looking.
this?
And so they showed how to, circle around here and circle there and stuff. Well, she felt a lump. And the long story short of that is that it was cancerous. We went up to the Mayo Clinic, and sure enough, it was cancerous. And so
was it
she had surgery.
What? Oh, she got the lump removed.
So she got that. So she had a
great.
single mastectomy.
Okay.
And so we were fine. It was fine. And then the other breast. So both. And then they had mentioned that, hey, we're going to take these out. Now, they took out both the breasts, and she's cancer-free, but they also mentioned that, there could be complications. This is in the late 70s. And so the complications could be, a list of things. Well, my mom ended up passing in 1986, and what ended up taking her life was complications to the breast cancer, where she ended up dying from leukemia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So I remember it was on a Thursday. It was in November, and on a Thursday, and my brother I was living in fraternity. I was at Sigma Nu fraternity at Iowa State.
Fun.
And I get a phone call. One of my Justin Boyce, I think his name was. He said, "Hey Al, your brother's on the phone. It's important." It's like 3:00 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
I said, "What's going on?" He says, "Al, we got to get up to Rochester. Something happened." I said, "Mom just had she just had the bone marrow transplant. What do you mean?" She said, I thought everything was fine." She's like, we got to go. We didn't have a car. We didn't have anything to get up there. So we called a friend of ours. His name is Jaime Reyes, and he's still around. He's up in Ames, and he was friends with my dad. They both were engineers with the Department of Transportation. Anyway, we ended up getting a ride up to Rochester through this gentleman, and we got up there probably 10 o'clock, and my mom was in the ICU.
Oh my goodness.
And we went, and my dad was there, and we went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Well, based upon what's going on, probably by 2 o'clock she's gonna be gone."
And you
Oh
were
my
like,
gosh.
how old?
I was 20.
I just got
Oh my
shivers.
God.
I'm 20 years old. My brother's 19. I'm a sophomore at Iowa State. And I'm like, what? So it was true. It's 2 o'clock. About 2 o'clock, she passed away. Well, right when she had all these tubes in I still remember vividly. She had all these tubes, and she couldn't talk, and all she could do was kick her leg. And I remember looking at her, and I said, "Hey, Mom, gosh, I love you, and I'm sorry that this is happening. But I want to let you know that I'll help find the cure so that this won't happen anymore. I promise to help find the cure." And I was holding her hand. I'll never forget that. And I remember telling her, because at the time I was enrolled at Iowa State, I thought I was going to become a doctor. And so I thought, well, I'm going to be this grandiose scientist doctor to come up with this cure for breast cancer and leukemia. And I thought I was going to do that. So I remember telling her, "I promise." And then she passed. So here I am, I'm 20 years old, I'm flunking out. I flunked out at Iowa State, not knowing what I'm doing, right? But I find out, I'm just not really cut out for this scholastic stuff. I'm flunking out. I flunked out. And so the whole dream and the whole thought of Mom passing away, or the whole thing, me saving lives with trying to find the cure for breast cancer, kind of went away, because now what? So here's this unkept promise, and it just kind of faded away, and it was always in the back of my mind. And so it's, but then you fast forward. So
yeah, you look at what you're doing now.
Yeah, so you look at, God has a way of taking things in life, and it's really easy to look at life in situations, and what I found is God speaks to us not necessarily situationally, but generationally. Why did this happen? And you think that, well, my life is over. This is the end of the world. How can this be? And so you take the worst thing in my whole entire life that had ever happened to me, and you fast forward, and in October of 21, I put my first jar of homemade barbecue sauce in Hy-Vee.
Wow.
And on the side is a picture of my mom, and it says, portion of proceeds goes to Susan G. Komen to help find the cure for breast cancer.
That's so awesome.
So every jar of barbecue sauce, Big Al's barbecue sauce, that is sold, a portion of those proceeds goes to Susan G. Komen.
Oh,
That's amazing.
Chills in
So you take something that's absolutely awful, and this barbecue sauce, that's a big deal. But see, it's more, for me, it's more than just the sauce. It's not the money part. It's the helping to try to find a cure for a bigger cause.
Definitely.
Using something, a different platform to get there.
Well, it's even this promise you made to her on her last day, and you thought it was a hopeless dream, like flunking out. And then here you are, you're fulfilling that I mean, all your work, your brand, your logo, it's dedicated to your mom and what she taught you growing up and what you promised to leave behind, because you want to make that impact.
I wanted to make that impact.
Yep.
And so the hope is that we do find the cure, because it's more than just, oh, mom's dead, mom's gone. It's more, oh my gosh, it's the families. I mean, how it affected and impacted the families, and it costs a lot of money too. I mean, if you're up and staying in a hotel and the doctor bills, and I mean, it's just tenfold on the other stuff that happens. And so, and the heartache, and if there's anything that I could do, if there's one thing that I could do to help not have that heartache for somebody or some people or someone's plural, then I would love to do that. Yeah. But it sucks.
No, yeah.
It sucks. And so that's, and so as I've moved forward in life, I know that I've been put here on earth it's a bigger cause. And what I've learned over the course of time is that it's not about me. And when I figured out that it's not about me, that it's about others and helping and loving other people, my life changed. So my life really changed.
Where were you at that point? Because like you said, you were going to school to be a doctor. How did cooking come back into your life and this big idea for Big Al's?
Wow. So oh my gosh. So, I'm 20 years old and I've always been cooking. So I was in the restaurant industry, waiting tables, bartending. I've worked at Chinese restaurants, Thai restaurants, Italian restaurants, all sorts of restaurants, right? But those were either main jobs, but they were also, for the good chunk of it, the side jobs, because I had other jobs. Mm-hmm. I'm a salesman. If you guys haven't picked that up, I'm a salesman by trade, right?
No, not you.
Right. So I always had a bartending waiting job. So I was always in the industry. I have managed several different restaurants. And one thing that I knew about being in the industry is that it never felt like work. It never, even to this day, there's a lot of other things that encompass it, like taxes and payroll and stuff like that, I'm just not a big fan of, but I hire somebody to take care of that. But as far as the industry and serving people, I really love that. And if
that's a blessing.
It is. If my wife would just let me work, I would. Wow. I would just work. But I'm a dad and I'm a husband first and foremost.
You got to buy that Lululemon.
Yeah, right. Holy cow, that's a whole nother story. So, so it had always been, and so it was never work to me. So you move forward. And so how did it get from where I was at then to here? I think I have to digress, where was I that all of a sudden the change in my life happened? Because there's more than just that part. There's that part of my life with my mom passing away, and you can't make this up. It's almost a movie. While my mom was on her deathbed, in 1986, my dad was too. My dad had kidney disease.
Oh, wow.
And so he was up in Rochester, Minnesota, and they were both in hospitals,
Oh my gosh.
both dying at the same time.
Oh, my gosh.
You can't make this up.
No.
And so here's my mom passing, and here's my dad with the kidney disease, and they're figuring out you're going to need a new kidney, right? Wow. And so this is all in 1986, and they said, well, you're going to have to get what do they do when they dialysis. Mm-hmm. So they had to do all this thing with my dad's arm and stuff, and to do dialysis on my dad. So that was happening at the same time. So it's like, what's going on with my world?
Right. And you're in college.
And I'm in college. And so in 1987, both my brother and I, we recognized that, well, we can't lose another parent here. Mm-hmm. They said that in Mayo Clinic, the best way is to get a transplant, kidney transplant. And the best match is with a family member.
Mm-hmm. Nose goes.
So both my brother and I thought, well, we'll get tested.
Yep.
We both got tested. Harry was more confident about giving his kidney, and the doctor said it's very important that you're confident about it because your organs will react if you're not confident about it. So my brother was confident. My brother Harry donated his kidney to my dad.
That's amazing. Wow.
So they both have one kidney. My dad has my brother's kidney, and Harry has one kidney because they say you can.
Yeah, you can live off of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that.
That is so crazy.
Oh my gosh.
You even look at you and Harry's relationship now, and you guys are both in business together. Like, no wonder you guys are so. I mean, you guys have been through so much together.
Right.
Why not go on a business adventure together?
Right. But it wasn't always like that because I went my way.
Okay.
Okay. I went my way, and well, I mean, I'll just cut to the chase.
Yeah,
I ended up becoming homeless. I was living in St. Louis, and well, I had a drinking problem, and currently I'm in recovery. And I was in St. Louis, and I'll never forget. I'm living out of my car. And I'm like, how in the world did I get to this point? Now, here was my thought process at the time. I mean, I couldn't think of what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, let alone the only thing that I could think of, where am I going to get my next drink? Where am I going to find the money to get my next drink? That was what my whole entire life was encompassed around. And so I'm a recovering alcoholic. And so here I'm in St. Louis and living in my car. And I will never forget, here was my decisions. As an alcoholic, we think differently. We don't think right. We have what they call a living problem. We don't know how to live life on life's terms. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I remember, I was living, I'll never forget, it was July 4th. I do remember that. And I was in my car in the driveway or in the parking lot of the old apartment complex that I got evicted out of. But I didn't know where else to go.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm in this parking lot, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and it is 98 degrees.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, here's what's going through my mind. My gas is on E with the red light showing. If I turn the car on for a brief moment, the air conditioner will kick on. But I don't have enough gas. But I'm hotter than hot. It's hot. Uh-huh. It's freaking hot. Meanwhile, if I turn the gas off and roll the window down because I don't have enough gas, but I can't breathe, I can't stay in the car without the air conditioner or without the windows down. So I put the window down. Well, guess what? Now I got fresh air, and I can be cooler than if the windows were all the way up without the car running. Mm-hmm. But my dilemma was, now the window's down, here are the mosquitoes.
Oh, my gosh.
Mosquitoes in the summertime.
And I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Right?
Not ideal.
No.
So here's those are the things that I was dealing with.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the life things I'm dealing with. And meanwhile, where am I going to get a couple dollars to go buy this cheap-ass vodka?
Yeah.
Right.
Where am I going to get? So that's what's going through my mind. Talk about really messed up mind. And I'm not saying that I'm not messed up now. I'm not saying that.
We're all a little messed up.
are.
But certainly, if you move forward, my life is completely changed. I am not that person anymore.
No.
I don't have to be that person anymore.
What was it that took you out of that, or you started to
Sure.
realize you
turning
needed?
point.
Yeah.
So what happened was, finally, my dad had some friends from the church that lived in St. Louis, and they were working for Monsanto. They were food scientists that got their PhD. They were just smarter than smart, right? And they were from, I forgot where they were from. They weren't from India. They were from, gosh, I can't remember. At any rate, they were from the church, and so they knew that I was at the very lowest ebb of my life. And my dad said, "Come home, son."
How old were you?
41, 42 years old. Come home. Well, I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How am I gonna get
How
there?
am I going to get there? He says,
Right.
We're going to go ahead and give Shanta and Cheyenne were their name. We're going to give them money, and they're going to give you the money to put gas in the car to come home.
Wow.
And I don't know what it was that made me decide that I'm just going to come home. But I had enough. I bought a bottle of vodka, and I filled the gas tank up.
Wow.
I swear. So I'm driving a half cop
Oh my gosh.
on a donut. On a donut. And I'm driving home, and I'm like, and I remember having to pull over because I was so drunk up.
Yeah.
I remember driving home, but anyway, I ended up getting finally up to my I got that money, I put the gas in the car, and one tank or 1.5 tanks, well, however much money it's kind of, that part was a blur. But I remember I finally came home, and this was in 2008, and I'm at home now. Well, now I'm like, okay, now what?
Yep. What's the next step? Yep.
What's the next step? I'm living in my parents' basement, and my first thought was, well, I gotta get enough money to go back down to St. Louis,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Meanwhile, my dad is going through this help meeting, a 12-step help meeting, to figure out, well, how do I handle a guy like my son? And what he was finding out was that my dad was enabling me to do stuff because he was always sending me money, and I was living with him. And meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out where I got to get some money because I got to get a drink.
Yeah.
Right. So I ended up getting a job working at Biaggi's as a server, as a food server. And I thought, well, I'll save enough money and I'll go back to St. Louis. Right? That was my thought process. Well, that doesn't make any sense. But I remember, so I'm living at home, and my dad knows I've got a problem. And he finally has a heart-to-heart with me. And when my dad has a heart-to-heart, I mean, he means it. My dad really means it. And he says, "Son, I love you. But if you're going to maintain living the life that you're living, drinking the way that you are, you're going to have to leave home." What?
Yeah.
You're going to have to
How
leave home.
tough. Wow.
You're going to have to leave home. So make a decision. Well, it was a few weeks after that, and I remember it was January, it was December 30th, 31st, 30th. It was the day before New Year's Day.
Okay.
And I was supposed to wait on my parents at Biaggi's. And I obviously had tied one on. And at any rate, I remember all of a sudden I felt like I'm having a heart attack.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like,
whoa.
I'm like, whoa, this is awful. I'm cramping up and I can't breathe. And I remember running to the bathroom, to the employee bathroom. I'm looking at myself in the mirror and going, "Is this how you're going to go, Al?" is this what you're supposed to be doing for the rest of your life? Is this what it's come to? I remember I couldn't wait on my folks. Somebody else ended up waiting on them. I waited in the my boss's office for like 2 or 3 hours, however long they took. Went home, and I didn't have a drink, and I started detoxing on my own. And then my parents said, "Hey, you know what? Just a suggestion. They got those meeting things, and there's one at the church that you used to go to, Al. You ought to try to go to one of those. As a matter of fact, they got one tonight." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah. You don't have to drink today, Al. You can stop." And I went, "Okay. But then what am I going to do for the rest of my life?" God will take care of you. So I remember going, it was a Tuesday night. It was January 6th. And I went to my church. And they had a meeting. They had a 12-step meeting there. And I started listening. And people were there, and they're talking about their story and stuff. And I went, I recognize that story. And I went, oh my God, this is it. I don't have to live my life like that anymore.
Yeah.
So they said, just for today, you don't have to drink. Come back tomorrow. And I remember going, "Oh, okay." So I came back, and I kept coming back. And I remember, I'm sorry.
No,
You're
it
okay.
is
I'm starting to
such
tear
a
up too.
powerful story, and keep going if you
So
want to keep going.
I
please,
remember,
too.
I remember I told my buddy, I remember Jason, and my old drinking buddy. And I was 3 days, didn't have a drink. I remember I said, "Jason, I haven't had a drink in 3 days." He said, "How did you do it?" I said, "I've been going to these meetings." I said, "You should come with me." He said, "I don't know if I can do that. I'm not that person." "Oh, okay. Well, Jason's dead now, by the way. But anyway, I started going to these meetings, and next thing I know, I started realizing that, I'm 42 years old, and I'm waiting tables, right? In the back of my mind, I'm going, what am I doing here? What am I doing waiting tables? I'm smart. Because I ended up getting a degree. I ended up getting it later on in my life. I ended up getting a degree. I'm a behavioral scientist by trade. So I got my degree in behavioral science in St. Louis, and then I even went to graduate school for the company so I went to graduate school for business. But I'm like, how did I end up doing this? And so what I found out by going to these meetings was, well, your job, Al, as a human, is you're supposed to serve and love people. That's what you're supposed to do. Well, guess what? I'm serving people. I'm supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
Good. I'm just going to do this for the rest of my life. I'll just do this. And you know what? I waited tables at Biaggi's for 9 years, and I was making good money. I bought my first house. I bought my first Cadillac Escalade. All of that happened. But here's the turning point, right? Why am I waiting tables? Why this? And so one of the guys that I was working with, his name was Chris Coulter, and we both like the St. Louis Cardinals. He's from Missouri, and we both love this barbecue. And he had a smoker, and we would talk about recipes and stuff like that. And he knew that I knew what I was talking about because I learned how to barbecue in the South. Because all my travels and stuff in the South, from St. Louis to Mississippi to Texas, Kansas City, taught me all these things. And see, this barbecue in the South became a hobby. This was just a hobby for me. And so when I came back home, the only smoker that I had was a Weber grill, right? Well, Chris had a smoker, and he was moving back down to Missouri. His wife had cancer, and they needed to move, and they moved to the lake. They needed to get away so she wouldn't be any stress. And he said, "Hey, Al, I got this smoker along with all this other stuff with it that I thought of you first because you have this passion like I do. Would you like to buy it?" Meanwhile, my wife had given me the permission to buy a smoker. So
The universe.
I
likes
went,
to
I
win.
went, my wife says yes.
my
The smoker
gosh.
presents himself. However, she was expecting something different for a smoker. She's thinking like Walmart.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Meanwhile,
yep.
this smoker, you pull behind a truck.
Oh,
Yeah,
so it is
big.
this. She was expecting this.
This
It got
little
And
thing.
I got this. And I went in with my father-in-law,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went in with my father-in-law, and we got this big smoker. I pull in this big smoker. My wife is, she's mad at me.
Oh my gosh.
Where'd you put it?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
in the driveway.
Stall
in,
3.
in the driveway in Adel, Iowa, in the cul-de-sac.
Oh, too funny.
In the cul-de-sac. And so here's this. Look,
That's awesome.
there were no Asians, and there's no Asians in Adel, Iowa. It's country back there. It's super country. So the fact that here I am in the cul-de-sac, and there's the Asian guy, the token Asian guy sitting there, right?
With the
They're like, and they're like, looking, because I remember I had bought also that year, I had bought my first John Deere lawnmower.
Okay.
Right? Riding
Wow.
lawnmower.
Yeah.
Guess
Big
what I had?
deal.
And for Christmas, my wife, my wife had bought me some overalls. So guess what? I put the overalls on, no shirt underneath.
Oh my gosh, stop.
I'm on my my wife has a picture. She has
I
a
was gonna
video.
say, we need this photo.
I'm on the tractor, right? And I'm driving around the cul-de-sac because I got this John Deere tractor lawnmower.
Go with your
and with Asian guy, right?
know,
with
the visual.
Overalls.
With the overalls, with the no shirt on, and I'm driving. Look at me.
Oh my
And so the
gosh.
neighbors already think, oh, God, he's
this
freaking
guy?
crazy, right? So that's great. We're crazy. We're a blended family. Al's crazy. Sort of the thing in that. And then Crazy Al brings a smoker and parks it in the driveway. So here I am. I light the smoker up, and the whole neighborhood smells like a pork chop.
I love it.
And the neighbors are going, "What you got going on over there, Al?" I said, "This is Southern style barbecue." I'm like, "Really? Can you sell me something?"
Sure.
Get out of here.
Let's go.
Let's go. Can you sell me something? I went,
Can I wear my overalls?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So here I am. I'm like going, I think I'm on to something.
Heck yeah.
So I told my wife, I'm going to start a catering company. She went, with what money? Mortgage was due yesterday. We ain't got no money. It's like, no, I said, I've got a calling here. I said, I prayed about it, I said, I think I got a calling here. People are offering to buy. And so I already priced out on how much they sell ribs at my competitors. It would be my competitor's place.
Right.
And I said, there's money to be made. I said, if I sell the rack of ribs, we make $15 in our pocket.
Nice.
My wife said, really? All I have to do is sell 10.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? We got part of the water bill paid for.
That's amazing.
So it just kept escalating.
Kept escalating and kept
Yeah.
escalating. And so she said, well, where are you going to get the customers? I'll go door to door.
I'm a salesman.
Yeah.
I'm a salesman.
Great. Yeah.
And that's what I did.
How cool.
That is so.
I sold door to door.
Your ribs.
I ribbed everything. Picnic basket,
You have
business
like a
card.
I just see
That's
a
so
little
cool.
tray with
Seriously,
all your samples.
it's exactly what it was.
Wow.
Picnic basket,
Oh,
business
cute.
card, and walked in to like this and would
Yeah.
talk to the decision maker, which was always the office manager, because they always are the ones that had, hey, what are we doing for lunch?
Yeah.
And they pull out,
Totally.
well, here, let's go to here. Here, I got a menu to here,
Yep.
to here, to here, to
Yeah.
here, to here, right? And I always chose at the time people's stomachs, like right about now, about 10:30, it starts
Where
to
they're
grumble,
hungry.
Totally.
right?
Smart
Here's what
man.
I found out. The stomach has no voice of reason. None. When it comes to money, when it comes to anything, the stomach has no voice of reason when you're hungry to the point that it becomes the hangry part.
Oh,
And so that's what I would do is I would take advantage of that because you know what? It
smart.
could have been a bologna sandwich and I could have sold it to these people because they were so doggone hungry. And they would have thought it was the Last Supper.
I love
Oh my
it.
gosh.
So how long did you do catering before Big Al's came into play?
So it was about a year and a half. We were selling out of my garage. Meanwhile, I'm waiting tables full time. And then I needed a front because I was highly illegal selling barbecue out of my garage. I had bought a $50 oven from Craigslist.
Oh my gosh.
And it's still there.
Seriously?
It's still there. And then I bought from Bill Veltri, a buddy of mine. He had sold me his stainless steel refrigerator to me.
Wow.
For $200 and some odd dollars, and to me that was still right now it's still a lot of money, okay? But he sold that to me because I needed a refrigerator. And I had the smoker outside of the garage, right?
Oh my gosh.
And so that's how it started. So I'm selling, but I'm illegal because you're supposed to have the sinks.
So when was Big Al's born? Like what year was that then in your timeline?
So 10 years ago.
Wow.
So Big Al's, it started out as Hal and Al's Q and Catering.
Okay.
Because my father-in-law and I, thought about starting this catering company. Then I ended up buying them out after 6 months, right?
Yep.
So a lot of big things happened 10 years ago. It started in 2012. It was exactly 10 years ago. So 2012, bought my first house. 2012, bought the smoker. 2012, my daughter was born. All that. My youngest, the youngest daughter was born, Emma.
Math.
Everything all happened in 10 years ago.
Crazy.
Wow, all
And
at
so
once,
all
too.
at once. And then so what happened was after about a year and a half, I bought a food trailer because I needed a front.
Yep.
Because I was illegal, super highly illegal.
That's my favorite part of this
I know,
whole
that's
story.
I mean, I was like, dude.
That or the overalls. I don't know.
Yeah.
How many pounds you want? Give me the money.
Oh my
Cash only.
I love it.
Cash only.
Yep.
Right? So I'm selling pounds of meat out of the garage, pulled pork.
There you go.
So yeah, so it started out in 2012, and then a year and a half after that, I got my food trailer. Then this opportunity over on the east side of Des Moines, across the street from Anderson Erickson, on Hubble, in the hood.
Yeah.
Across the street from Cheap Seats. There was 2 murders across the street from us. That's how bad the hood was.
You're like, I want that one.
But you know what? It was my first restaurant.
Yeah.
It was my first restaurant. That's coming
Wow.
about 7 years ago.
That's so crazy.
So 7 years ago, we started my first restaurant.
Okay, so then I'm just like trying to think of the timeline in my head. And then when did the barbecue sauce come into play?
So about a year after we were open, a guy comes to me and says, "Hey, Al, do you sell this barbecue sauce?" Well, look, I'm a salesman. Everything is for sale, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything. No. Do you
always
sell
a
it yet? He said, no. I said, well, I can sell it to you. No, but do you sell it? Like, could you sell it to me to Hy-Vee? I'm like, oh.
Whoa.
Oh,
So he says, I'm
shit.
so-and-so with Hy-Vee. I'm the buyer for
Oh my goodness.
up in Ankeny.
Yeah.
In Ankeny,
big
at the
deal.
Ankeny. And I said, Ankeny. He says, yeah, we're the 4th largest revenue generating Hy-Vee in the United States.
Wow.
I'd love to get your barbecue sauce there,
Yeah.
right?
How cool.
So I went, wow, great. So I started doing some research on how what it's going to take and stuff like that. Well, it's to a tune of $30,000.
Whoa.
What?
No.
Yeah. So
No.
so it was like, and so I told my we had a big meeting with my accountant and all my team, and we were sitting in front of this person, Todd BDI, who bottles our stuff. They came and told us, this is what's going to take. You got to get it tested. You got to get this nutritional fact and stuff and this and the bottle and all
lot.
this. It's a lot. I said, how much is that going to be? Oh, about $30,000.
Oh my gosh.
I can't spell 30,000.
Yeah.
Right? So
Right.
both my accountant and I are like going, well, we're just not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
We're just
Come
not
back
ready
in a
for that yet. Come back to that. And then you fast forward, we got the restaurant about 2 years ago now in West Des Moines, right?
Okay.
That's the 4th restaurant that we had opened. And we're next to a Hy-Vee.
Yep.
And one of the managers comes. She comes up and says, I love your barbecue sauce. Do you sell it? I'm like going, not yet. Not bottled, but we can sell it to you. $5 a bottle. Like
Yep.
when
Illegal.
you get illegally, literally illegally. I'm so highly illegal. The goodness is I'm not an illegal. but I'm illegal. So anyway, here we go. So so I told we're now in a position that we can start to reignite this idea of selling barbecue sauce. So that's what we did. We put money into it, and I stroked the check for it, and we started selling it. But in that time frame, that was about a 4-year time frame. I had known that I wanted to donate a portion of the proceeds to Susan G. Komen. And I remember getting with Susan G. Komen. So this is quite the story here. So I remember I had talked I had finally got in with the head honcho, at least for Iowa. Mm-hmm. And I told him, here's my idea. I want to use your logo, the Susan G. Komen logo, and in exchange, we will give you a portion of the proceeds. Yeah. We'll give you money back.
Yep.
Right? Because I'm trying to find the cure, right?
Definitely.
So anyway, the lady says, so how long are you going to be putting the logo on it? Like 3 weeks? You're just going to use us? I said, well, ma'am, quite frankly, if I can do it in 3 weeks, my job is to put you out of business. My job is to take your job away. Isn't that what you're wanting to do too?
Yep.
Aren't you wanting to try to find a cure? Mm-hmm. I said, wouldn't you like to get this done within 2 days?
Yeah.
I said, because that's what I want to do. I said, hopefully it's not 3 weeks. I hope it's like right now, but we know better than that.
Yep.
So then anyway, we ended up finally tying the deal with the CEO of Susan G. Komen.
Yep.
And so if you look on the side of the sauce, it does have the logo, but it's not big enough. And my marketing and advertising firm right now is working on that. Bing Bang.
What?
Bing Bang is working really hard on trying to make that a big part of our new advertising.
I think that's a perfect way to come full circle with this whole conversation. Just knowing where you started and where you're at now. I mean, I'm just trying to dissect the timeline. You have taken us through parts of your life that I don't even know if you've opened up to people about publicly or anything, but thank you. Thank you for sharing your incredible, powerful story.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So we like to leave our audience for the week with a couple pieces of advice. So if you have any advice, your final words, what would you like to say?
Follow your passion. Trust in the Lord. And if you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win but don't think you can, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out in this world you'll find success begins with a person's will. It's all in the state of mind. Think big and your deeds will grow. Think small and you'll fall behind. Think that you can and you will. It's all in the state of mind. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man. But sooner or later, the person who wins is the person who thinks that they can. God bless.
Oh, the
wow,
chills, Al. You just took us to church on a Friday. I don't know what to do with that. Final thing, where can people find you? Your restaurant, where are you at? Where can they donate to Susan G. Komen?
You can buy yourself like a whole bunch of cases from Susan G. Komen. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yep.
All the Hy-Vees. If you do not see it, find the manager. Tell them you want it. They will buy it. All right. It's through Lomar, through the distribution, or you can come to the restaurant. You can find me. I have 2 restaurants. One in West Des Moines, 1960 Grand, number 23, or in Adele. And our newest adventure, we just signed the contract.
I've been waiting for this.
In Ankeny. So I've got the keys in the district.
Oh my gosh!
In the district.
My neck of the woods.
Yes. So we are. We're excited.
It's official.
It's official. My brother Harry has said, don't say anything yet until we talk to Bing Bang Al. We got to see where we got for the push
Harry,
and stuff.
He's talking to us.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Tell Harry it's okay.
Yeah, we got you.
I love it. So look out for that and look out for all the big things Big Al is doing and our partnership with you. We're so excited to keep it going.
Cool.
Thanks for sharing your story, Al.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.